Before I call this meeting to order, I will note for the record that I will serve as the acting chair for today's meeting in Chairman Joy's absence. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation for Monday, August 20th, 2018. I'd also like to note for the record that this meeting is being webcast. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Consistent with the policy of our parent corporation, we welcome public comment on the items on the following agenda. After each item is presented and any comments are received from the directors, we will allow members of the public to provide comments. All comments should be limited to 2 minutes and should only address the item that is under consideration. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any items on today's agenda. If so, I would ask that you please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We will then be sure that you recuse yourselves from any discussion or vote with regard to such item or items. Hearing none, our first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the directors of March 12, 2018. Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions on the minutes from the directors? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval. So moved. Mr. Matua, second.
Second.
Ms. Leiden, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of officers of Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation, and really speaks to the administration and governance of the corporation, specifically to ensure that we have a full complement of officers who can execute required documentation on the corporation's behalf. First, Steve Rinaldi on my left this morning, who last week received a very well-deserved promotion to Vice President of Development for ESD Western New York portfolio-wide, and whose primary role will be day-to-day oversight, management, and governance of all Erie Canal Harbor projects, initiatives, and staff. Steve has been with the corporation for 10 years, is a professional engineer, and has been integral in advancing so many important projects here on the Buffalo waterfront over the last decade. And Paul Tronalone, who was promoted to Vice President of Policy and Planning for ESD Western New York in January. Paul also brings a wealth of experience to ESD and has been with the corporation since 2005. He is involved in the policy formulation and guidance across our entire Western New York portfolio and has a lot of experience in matters involving the Buffalo waterfront, having overseen the GEIS for Canalside, among other efforts. So on behalf of our President and CEO and Chairman Howard Zemsky and Chairman Joya, I'd like to offer Steve well-earned congratulations and continued thanks to both Steve and Paul for their public service. And this morning, the directors are requested to approve the appointment of Stephen Rinaldi and Paul Tronalone as officers of the corporation as set forth in the materials, and to confirm that Stephen and Paul are officers and vice presidents of the corporation within the meaning of the New York State Urban Development Corporation Act and the corporation's bylaws. Paul's there and take any questions or comments from the directors.
I would just like to clarify, Chris, that we will be having 2 vice presidents and not a president at this time.
That is correct. County Executive?
Just a note for the record, even though I'm ex officio member, doesn't vote, I do note that these are excellent choices who've worked very hard on behalf of the corporation for many years, and I just congratulate them on their appointments.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Any comments from the public? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Ms. Barnazzi moved.
Second.
Second from Ms. Leiden. All in favor? Any opposed? Oh, motion carries. Thank you, and congratulations again to Steve and to Paul. Well deserved. I will now ask Steve to request authorization for the corporation to, among other things, designate the preferred developer to undertake the redevelopment of parcels A2.2 and A2.3 of the South Odd Block. Steve, whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Chris. Previously, this board adopted a modified general project plan which described development on the South Odd Block. This was divided into small parcels based on the historic street grid. It included 3 buildings on 4 parcels and the Children's Museum, as well as interpreting the prime slip. As you know, the Children's Museum is currently under construction and expected to open in 2019. But to facilitate the remainder of the plan, ECHDC advertised a request for proposals for the private development of parcels A 2.2 and A 2.3 on July 19th of 2017. We had over 200 firms and organizations download the RFP, and 26 people representing 6 different development companies attended pre-proposal meeting and site tours last August. On October 5th of last year, we received RFP responses from 3 different firms: Douglas Development Corporation, Savarino Companies, and Sinatra and Company Real Estate. All 3 development firms were interviewed and asked to submit a revised final and best offer, and these were received from all 3 firms on December 17th of 2017. The committee determined that the Heritage Point proposal from Sinatra and Company Real Estate would best meet the evaluation criteria as stated in the RFP and was the best value option for purposes of providing the full scope of the South Odd Block redevelopment. Sinatra and Company is a progressive development firm founded in Buffalo in 2009 and led by Nick Sinatra. Amy Nagy is here with us today, the Director of Development from the company. And today the firm has over 70 professionals working on a portfolio of over $375 million in development, reuse, brokerage, advisory, and property management. Recent projects include 945 Kenmore, the Mid-City Apartments, the Phoenix Brewery Apartments at the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus, and they're currently in the adaptive reuse of the former Women and Children's Hospital of Buffalo. If I could ask you to flip the boards, Brian. Heritage Point, their development proposal, is a 71,000 square foot, $21 million development with 2 new mixed-use buildings consisting of up to 5 floors in each. They include an active ground floor plan of retail and restaurants, as well as Class A office space and 41 market rate and affordable residential units. They have secured off-site parking at Harbor Center. As part of the project, the Prime Slip and sections of Canal Street and Lloyd Street will also be completed, with the developer activating the towpath and the sidewalks and the Prime Slip with outdoor seating, while these spaces also remain open to the public. Heritage Point represents a highly anticipated addition to Canal Side, consistent with the goals and objectives outlined in the RFP, and the project will be opened in May of 2020. With respect to this property being sold, the developer will be paying $1 for the property. As this transfer is being made in response to the most highly rated proposal received into further development of Canal Side in accordance with the MGPP and the project goals articulated above, and seeing that the other purchase price or lease offers were similar, there's no reasonable alternative to the proposed below-market transfer, assuming only the purchase price proposed that would achieve the same purpose. In terms of the MGPP, there will be slight modifications to the original GPP affirmed in December 2009, and staff recommends that we do update this MGPP again. The staff has determined the proposed contractor's responsibility as defined in State Finance Law 163 and concludes this proposed contractor is a responsible vendor. In accordance with the RFP, the ECHDC will provide a development incentive of $2 million for capital construction costs, specifically related to the reconstruction of historic streets and the Prime Slip right-of-way, as well as canal lighting from the building. I do have a correction in the board materials on page 8. The funding source that we'll use for this incentive shall be the New York Power Authority Industrial Incentive. Currently, it needs to be revised. It says relicensing agreement. It should read industrial incentive. In addition, ESD's non-discrimination and contractor supplier diversity policy will apply to the initiative. The goal of 35% shall be related to the total value of the state's $2 million capital contribution, and the contractor shall be required to solicit service-disabled veteran-owned businesses up to a 3% goal on that same $2 million. ESD as lead agency completed an environmental review of the entire canal side project. And the findings of the Board of Directors issued seeker findings for the full project back on March 26, 2010, and again with revisions in October 2010, November 12, and November 13. Accordingly, ESD staff have concluded an evaluation of potential effects of this MGPP against those documented in the 2010 documents as amended. They've determined that the assessments and proposed mitigation contained in this documentation would still adequately address any projected impacts of the development under this MGPP, and therefore no further environmental review is required in connection with this action. Finally, the directors are requested to, 1, make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed preferred developer, 2, authorize designation of Sinatra and Company Real Estate as the preferred developer for the South Aud Block, parcels A22 and A23. 3, adopt the modified general project plan. 4, authorize the holding of a public hearing. 5, make a determination of no significant effect on the environment. And 6, take all related actions.
You are the only participant. Welcome to a Cisco meeting. You are entering the meeting now. You are the only participant.